All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Real Christians podcast. Not just another podcast for Christians, but for non-Christians as well, where we discuss real faith, real issues, and knowing the real Jesus. How do you like that? All right. So progress is good. And that's the new tagline we're working on. Tell us what you think. Today's topic, Ryan, is what?
Is it volunteering?
It is volunteering. Don't you love volunteering your time? What does it mean? Why does it matter? Being a new Christian now, I find myself wanting to volunteer, where previously I felt like I had to.
Yeah.
And I used to go to a Methodist church in North Richland Hills, and I remember going there, great group of people and everything, but like it was a small church, and they're like, "Oh, you're a musician. We need to get you plugged into," and I felt like I'm still just kind of checking things out. I don't know. And I felt like I was being attacked. Oh, we got a new one here. Where can we plug them in? So it felt kind of like, I don't like this church because I just feel guilty that I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing or what they want me to do. And so now, I have put God first, and I'm like, I really want to do something. How can I use my talents and gifts to help the church I go to and to help other people? I'm a video guy, surprise, surprise. And so this is kind of one of the things I'm doing. I'm volunteering my time, and Ryan is as well. This is a Saturday. We like to record these on Saturdays. And, I'm volunteering our time. We could be at home with our families, but we really feel called to share ourselves with you all, and in hopes that you can pick up a thing or two that might grow you in your spiritual journey. Volunteering has a lot of dimensions to it. Mm-hmm. What would you advise folks to do when it comes to volunteering their time, and why is it important if you really are a real Christian and want to live your life for God? Why is volunteering, important?
Well, let's start with the part where the church was asking you.
Yeah.
Because, I think there's a misunderstanding of that. The church knows, and the people of the church know, that volunteering is very important because God has given each of us a gift specifically to you to use to enhance and to go towards His kingdom. Okay. That is specifically for you. If you're not using it, you're missing out on an aspect of knowing and understanding God. So, but the church knows that. So if they see a talent in you, they automatically think that is a gift for you. So you want to use that for God's purpose. They may not know where you are in your walk. So don't hold that against them. That's what they're doing.
Interesting.
Okay. But also know, and I want to start by saying this, no is an answer. You don't have to say yes to everything, especially if God's not calling you to do it. If God hasn't gifted you to do it, just no. He'll direct you into an area. But volunteering is very important because you're putting something to work that God has gifted you to do and to share with other people.
So, you have little kids, you'd be good in the nursery. And, you're a dad, you're like, oh, you have no idea. I'm here to get away from my kids.
I'm dropping them off
That's
to
right.
you.
So that would be a bad example of using that might not be a gift, right? And I've heard our pastor talk about, if you're good with numbers, if you're good with planning, if you're good with people, if you like talking to people and greeting, you can be a greeter. There's lots of areas that you can volunteer, and so how do you know what's right for you? What if you are a musician and that's the only gift you think you got? Well, there's no room. The music performers, our musicians, we're full. We're not taking any new. So then you go, oh crap, what can I do now? So it's a matter of just finding it out, and if you would it be important to volunteer even if it's not your core, talent? I guess, how do you broaden your your availability or ability to help in ways that you're not sure if it's right for you?
That's a great question. And how I did it, because I didn't know what my gifting was. I just started somewhere. I started just in an area that says, I'm going to go try. This sounds interesting. I'm going to go try it. Knowing the aspect of that, hey, if this doesn't work out and I don't like it, I can always stop.
Right.
Volunteering is just that word.
It's not not like, oh, you've committed.
Not a life commitment.
You're stuck.
That is correct.
Okay.
And if they're a good church and they following, they will understand that. So if you just don't know where to start somewhere where you think, and really I think our pastor has said something right. All of us have different eyes to see what's going on in the church. If you see something that's a problem within the church or something that you think that they might be able to do better, sometimes that's God telling you or giving you an idea of places where he wants to put you, because you have the ability to see whatever needs to be changed or how it can be done better. So I think that is a great way to start.
If you notice, I noticed that every time I walk through here, there's stuff here. And you're like, well, then you don't need to ask for permission. Just do it. Just clean that area up or figure out a solution that you're like, hey, now it's clean because of me.
Yeah. Or if you don't like the flow of something, like if your foyer could be changed around to something that go, well, if your thought is, well, it could be changed this way because it would create a better flow or something like that, partner up with the people in the church to say who's over that and say, start volunteering there or start talking to people there. I mean, there's thousands of examples, but that is one place to do.
So let me ask you, how old were you when you kind of gave your life over to God?
So there's two moments in my life. I gave my life to Jesus when I was 11. Mm-hmm. Okay.
How did you do that? 11. I'm trying to think of what grade that is.
Well, I mean, I grew up in the church.
Okay.
So my parents and my grandparents took me to church every single Sunday. So I've always had that understanding of Jesus. And really, I remember the day like it was yesterday. I was sitting at the kitchen table and our pastor actually came to the house. And he just laid it all on the line about what Jesus had done for me. And I mean, I remember I was just bawling and
specifically for you, like he's telling
it was about me and what he did for me, not in generalities. And I remember it's like, I want him, I need him, and I gave my life to him at that point. But back then, it's still old school where we had to go walk the aisle and we feel uncomfortable and go and pray in front of with the preacher and all that kind of stuff. So I had to break through that little barrier to because I was a shy kid, and I and did that, and that's when he presented me to the front of the church and all. So I was 11.
Did you have to dress up back then?
Oh yeah,
yeah. That was when you dressed up to go to church.
Big time, absolutely. But really, it probably wasn't until I was 19 that I really started following Jesus. So there's a difference.
Yeah, tell me that.
So I knew what Jesus had done for me, so I needed to change. I knew I needed to accept him. But it's once I gained the understanding of he needs to be more in my life than what I've given him. That was 19. I had a moment in my life. I had a little crisis moment. I'd say crisis. It's very small comparatively to other things, but it's what God knew what I needed to get me back on track with him. And I remember being on the floor crying out to him. He he was there in the room. The Holy Spirit was there in the room because I felt him. And I know it was him because in an instant I was changed in a different manner. And that's when I got my life back on track.
Wow.
Because it was one of those where I cried out to him and he answered me because I was worrying about everything, had all this stuff going on in my life, and I just finally got on my knees. I cried out to him with my arms open wide, and I said, I can't deal with it. Take it from me. And when I said, take it from me, I literally felt it come and rising out of my body. I mean, it's the weirdest thing in my life. But
this is a burden you had. You had a heavy burden.
A heavy burden in my life. And when I asked him to take it, he took it. He doesn't do this all the time. But it was the only thing I knew to do, and I've never had that burden again. So that's why I know it was God, and nobody can refute that.
And did you, and never look back, I guess you would say, from that moment on, from 11 to 19, was there doubt ever, or maybe, like not doubt that God exists, but faith that I can trust God through thick and thin?
I would not say that I really had that relationship with God. There was never a doubt in my mind that God wasn't real, or that Jesus wasn't real, or that he wasn't with me. I just didn't know at that age, what does it mean to follow? I didn't understand all of that aspect of it. Mm-hmm. And I mean, as a kid, what do you know?
Yeah.
I mean, and really, all you need to know is, who is Jesus? Is Jesus God? I mean, did he did he die on the cross for your sins? Did he rise again on the third day? Did all these things? I got all that. So that was my saving grace. But I didn't fully appreciate that until I started really following and doing the things I really should have been doing. So at that point is when the volunteering and everything came back in, and I started, I need to get involved. I need to be doing this.
So that's when, after that moment, you now desired to volunteer.
Absolutely.
You went, where can I help?
Yeah, I need to get plugged in.
Wow. That's interesting. Mm-hmm. Now, I mean, during your journey, did you still, find yourself in the situation that most other kids do, girls dating and alcohol and drugs and rock and roll and, and again, God's in your life, but you're presented with this and again, the misconception that when you believe in God that you're perfect. That's the thing I'm still going through. Like, I did something I shouldn't have done, but now I don't go, what's the point of being a Christian? Because I mean, they don't do that. It's more of, so getting around to that answer of what did you experience those types of normal behavior or behavioral things with other people in your walk
all the time.
From 19, because 19 is like 19. Hello, your hormones are cruising, and
yeah. I mean, I still partook in things that because I was still growing.
Yeah.
So it's not like everything just changes overnight, and now I'm this. No, that was a growing process. And what happened was, from 19 on, there were things in my life that as I was partaking in whatever it was, there was always that little whisper in my voice of going, in the back of my head, Ryan, you probably shouldn't be doing this. And then I'd kind of have to stop and go, you know what, that's probably right. So then I would take a step back, and really kind of evaluate it. And okay, I need to probably cut that thing out of my life. Was I always good at keeping it out? No, because it's one of those traps that the devil always brings. He knows your vices. And so the devil will always bring those up to you and trap you over again. And we all will deal with this for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
I still deal with vices today.
Yeah.
So it's not going to stop. We're not going to be perfect. God knows it. And that's just part of the walk that we're in.
It's more of a balance. I see it as like I dance with the devil and the Lord. The Holy Spirit is in me that's protecting me. But it's weird to say, but the devil also influences me. And sometimes tricks me into doing things that I know I shouldn't do, but I do. And if I do it, then I ask God to forgive me for it. Where before I would just be like, I mean, geez, I'd ask for forgiveness every 5 minutes, or whatever. But knowing that it's not, you can't say, oh, it's okay, yeah. It's okay. It's not okay, but but because of Jesus, you're able to fall and then get back up again.
Absolutely, and he's there for you every time. That's grace, man. That's a whole other topic that we can probably talk about. But that's God's grace for you because He knows you're going to fall, and He's going to be right there to forgive you every single time.
Yeah,
because when we cry out to Him, He's there to. I mean, one, it was already paid for on the cross.
Did you, when you were going through this is like an interview now, I'm interviewing you. Surprise. So, when you're 19 and you're growing, you're plugged in, you're now reading the Bible regularly or not yet?
More than what I was.
Okay.
And that's what, that's kind of the thing is, there's no set in stone of what you've got to do. As long as you're doing more than what you were doing, you're on the right track. So if you're reading it once a week, if that's all you've been doing, you know what? Read it twice a week. Read the Bible twice a week. Just make that step further. The more and more that you do those things, the more God's going to change you and make you want to be closer to him, which is going to cause you to read his word more. You're going to get this hunger and this desire, and it's just that process.
Yeah.
So whatever you were doing, just do a little bit more. If you try to, it's like any goal we set in life. If we overachieve or try to do something that's almost impossible, we're going to fail.
Yeah.
And then it's going to make us feel guilty, and we're not going to go back and do it again because I failed. Well, quit making those huge leaps and just go, if all I'm reading is 5 minutes a day, go to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
What is that? I mean,
don't try to be the overachiever. I'm going to read like 2 hours straight, and then I'm going to feel good. And
no, don't do it.
Yeah,
because you're going to fail.
It's a long play.
It is.
This whole life with God is for the rest of your life.
That's exactly
no
right.
need to hurry up and condense it into one month or week or whatever.
I mean, it's taking me years to get to where I am today, and I still have a long way to go because I didn't understand how everything fits in the Bible or who a lot of these characters were.
Did you have curiosity? When you, from 19 on, then it was like, man, now I crave, my desires are changed. When we talk about volunteering, what were some of the things that you volunteered early in that time? Do you remember?
So in 19, I really didn't volunteer much. It was more of I was seeking. I didn't feel I was ready to kind of really volunteer and things. And I didn't really have a permanent church at that time either. I was kind of going around, but I was trying to get back into all of that. Okay, so I didn't really have a home to volunteer in yet. God was moving me almost like a chess piece. He was moving me around.
And you said I wasn't ready, so I want you continue, but I want to circle around that I didn't feel like I was ready to volunteer yet. So then what?
Well, and as I kind of started getting closer to him, that's when he started putting me, say, okay, I'm gonna stretch you a little bit, and I'm gonna have you here. And there was actually a time when the desire changed in me, and I'm like, I need to do something. So God knew back then if I didn't have that desire, I probably wasn't going to be really useful.
Yeah.
And so really God at the time changed me to the point of being ready to go do what he wanted me to do.
To take action. And if you don't have a church yet, and you do feel like you've been moved and you've accepted Christ, what are some things that you can volunteer your time without a church?
Oh, there's all kinds of nonprofits that are Christian based that you can just go volunteer your time. If that's at the local food bank, or if that's there's always.
So those are. I get that. I get that. That's those are your go-tos. But what about can you consider volunteering your time, helping your neighbor mow their yard?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be an institution.
It doesn't. I mean, the institutions are easy to get into.
Yeah.
That's why I say it's an easy one to start with, because then you start meeting needs. Because we're supposed to be meeting needs. And if we don't see needs around us, there are organizations that know the needs of other people, and that's a great place to start. So that's why I say in those institutions. So that's a great place just to kind of get plugged in.
If you don't want to think about it, you can easily just go to one of these places.
Exactly.
And
And over time, God might open your eyes to a needs of somebody in your neighborhood. That's when you then branch out and start doing some things on your own. Like, I could really mow that guy's yard or that widow's yard.
That would be a baby step opposed to drinking the Kool-Aid we talked about earlier.
Right.
Like, hey, I want to try out my new faith and my new self by helping people. And then that can give you, gratification. You help them, and then it can grow and grow, and then you find a church,
Absolutely.
And then you can kind of see how that church might have needs that you could help with.
That's exactly right. And you alluded to that the devil kind of leads you in places and causes you to do things. And honestly, I think he can work in the area of volunteering too, because if you're volunteering in an area that you're not supposed to be in, he knows that could affect you spiritually. That could affect your whole dynamic of.
Give me an example. I got to know what you're talking.
Well, so like, let's say, somebody pressures you into volunteering in a space at your church, and you just feel guilty because of that. God never gives us the spirit of guilt like that. That pressure, that burden. I mean, you have a desire to do something, not a guilty kind of a thing. I think that's a whole different other topic. But if you go into an area that someone has almost made you kind of
Stretched you,
you're not going to be your best. You're not going to enjoy it, and you're going to get burned out. And when you get burned out and all that kind of, a lot of times people just say, "I'm done. I'm out, and I'm going to leave the church." Devil's won.
Yeah.
And he used a situation like that to get to you, to cause you not to fall.
I can relate to that. I mean, Trace Diaz was that kind of thing for me. My friend Joshua said, "Hey, there's this thing. It's a retreat and all men, and I think you'd like it." I'm like, "What? I don't have anything on my agenda. I wasn't full-time employed." And it's like, "What the heck? What do I got to lose?" And I'd been baptized, and I've been seeking and craving, and I thought, okay, I'm just going along for the ride. And man, I had no idea how much it would impact me. I was a little reluctant. I was like, I don't know. I literally thought, this is a cult. I thought for sure at some point they're going to want something from me. We slept in these bunk beds, like military kind of bunk beds, and we would go in and walk quietly, and it felt like a cult. And I thought, this is so weird. What have I gotten myself into? And I was waiting, but during that time, we were worshiping God and learning about God and tears, and we would hear stories from other guys, and we were at table. We were working together for a common goal, and it was real music. I liked most everything, but that skepticism in my mind was something. Everybody's being a little too nice around here. What's the catch? And I was waiting for, at the very end, I thought, okay, I knew it. A bunch of old white men are they're the board of directors, and they're going to, like, now all you have to do is sign here in blood, and then you're ours forever, kind of thing, like this. And when I realized those thoughts, that was the devil. Mm-hmm. And after I literally, the last day, I was like, "Hey, dude, come here. Are you seeing what I'm seeing?" And he's like, I think the devil might have. And I go, "No, not you. I knew you. We developed a bond here, and this isn't right. Something." And all of a sudden, when I came back, it was time for the bag of all the letters of people that said, "We're proud of you for being here." And it was you, it was Charlie, it was Glenn, it was my dad, it was my mom. See, I'm crying. It was God going, "Nah, he's mine."
Absolutely.
I mean, jeez, Louise, I still can't talk about the story without breaking up because literally the devil made me see something that wasn't there.
Man.
And within 10 minutes, or I think it was 2 minutes, I felt like God literally said, "No way, he's mine." And when I read those letters, I just went, I felt so bad. I felt so sorry. I'm sorry. I felt guilty. I felt, why didn't I just go with it? Because I've been conditioned to be skeptical.
Absolutely.
And I've been conditioned to go, this is not right. Why would anybody go this far for me without any strings attached? And so, once I realized it, and at the last day, we had to get up and kind of talk, and I shared that with the people that were there to pick up their loved ones, and it had some people come up to me and go, "Wow, that was a powerful testimony." And to this day, and so I have that milestone of, okay, the devil can deceive you. It was an illusion. It was almost physical. It's almost so real.
It is real.
It is real.
It's real.
And man, so after that, I do that. So after that, I kind of woke up and went, holy mackerel. And so now Trace Diaz is coming in April. I'd missed the last one because I want to volunteer. I felt like this was something that I participated in. And now I want to volunteer and give back. Nice. I mean, I want to. I'm like 3 days on a lake with guys, and I get to serve them. I mean, that is what, to me, volunteering, the core of it is about. I was enlightened, and now I want and I crave to give back.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, I think you hit on something. that when we volunteer, there should be no strings attached. There should be no, it's you're doing it for God. You're not doing it for anything other than that. You're not doing it for to receive anything.
No quid pro quo.
Quid pro quo. You're doing it to serve, and that's it, and leave it there. If you're expecting something in return, you're doing it for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
And, and what I also like about your story is, because it also happened to me, God put me into a situation that led me to where he wanted me to be. So sometimes where we volunteer is not where the end point is. It's where he's directing you and building you and growing you to something bigger that he has for you. So I teach a class on Sunday mornings. I never wanted to be a teacher. I never thought I'd be in that position, and I had no desire to even be a teacher. It's when I started volunteering with the youth, and I started kind of going through that process, then when I graduated to the college ministry. Through those processes, he got me to where I am today, doing what I'm doing that I absolutely love doing.
I can tell. You guys, so for those of you who don't know, I've been kind of recording some of Ryan's classes Sunday mornings just to see what it would be like. And I think we're going to start posting some of those on this channel as well, because it's really good. You'll see what I mean on how Ryan teaches. And it's just literally so casual to you. That doesn't feel like anything other than a bunch of friends sitting there and talking about it, but the substance that you bring and the way you bring it is unique, and I like that, and so I wanted to capture it and I wanted to share it with you guys. But that is interesting how you didn't even you thought why would I want to teach? That's a big responsibility, and
it still is.
It still is, yeah. And but that's what are some things that that you do? Is that your primary? I mean, you've been in part of this church since
not inception, but ever since I've been in there. I mean, my wife and I've been there for about 22 years now.
Rebecca.
Yeah, Rebecca.
You call her Becca.
Yeah, Becca.
Yeah.
We've been there for 22 years. God hasn't called me out or anything. I've been very involved with the teaching. I'm a deacon there. I'm very careful now though on what I volunteer for. Because I have been burned out by volunteering, and that's a dangerous place to be as well. So I make sure I pray, is God telling me to do this before I do anything? And like I said at the very beginning, no is an answer. And so if you're not called to do it, don't do it.
And you just have to trust. I mean, that when you don't know, when you think, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And then you pause and you say, God, dear God, I am unsure of what I should do. One of the things I ask for is, please, I pray that you make it obvious to me, because I'm not that bright.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Please make it obvious to me that you want me or not want me to do this, because I don't know if I should. I don't know if I'm going to go down this right path or not. And so and then when I close my prayer, and then any thought after that, I feel like is ordained, is blessed, is coming from God, those thoughts, because I invited him to show me. Yeah. And so if my thoughts are, and it's amazing how as I'm praying, all of a sudden these thoughts, and I can't even finish my spoken words to my Father without going, oh, I'm getting it. It's almost like he interrupted me.
Yeah, absolutely, he'll do that.
And it's so overwhelming because I'm like, of course. So it is weird to think about if you're a non-Christian, like that's just crazy talk. Because it does seem crazy. I will have to admit that. But I can't deny it. I can't deny that it has impacted me. And so the topic of volunteering, I think that, go ahead.
I'm going to say that one thing before we close. One of the areas that you need to really look at is 1 Corinthians 12. And it's 12 through 31, I believe is what it is. And he's talking about the body of believers. And now each one of us is a toe. That's probably me. I'm probably the pinky toe. Some of us are the hand, some of us are the liver, some of us are the eyeball. But he's talking about how we all work in unison. And when one of us is not doing what we're supposed to doing, we're actually impacting the entire body to where it's not functioning as a whole like it should. I mean, if you remove a lung out of your body. Think about it. Your breathing capacity is in half now.
The other parts have to work harder.
It has to work harder. It's almost like a blind person. Their hearing has to compensate more because they can't see, so it becomes big. So everything's either having to work harder or it's not working like it should. That's our ministry in the body of Jesus and the body of the church and all that stuff. When you're not doing what God has called you to do, you're actually impacting the whole in a negative way.
So if you're being asked to help and you've asked God, is this what you want me to do? And you feel like God is saying, I think you should, and you don't do it, then you're realizing that it's important to realize that you're affecting the intended outcome of the collective body of people.
Absolutely. Like the Borg.
Like what?
The Borg.
What is that?
It's from the Star Trek.
Oh, you're okay.
I'm going Trek. But the one other thing that I learned from one of my mentors, he asked me to do something, and I really just had this burden to say no. And I looked at him and go, I don't think I'm supposed to do that. And he looked at me. He goes, great. I mean, I've never had someone tell me to say great for saying no.
No.
But he goes, by you saying no, that means God has somebody else that he wants to do that. He goes, if you said yes and you weren't meant to do that, that meant you took something away from somebody else that God had
more
intended.
Qualified or more.
Exactly. And I was like, what a great way to look at things. So anyway.
Well, and when you are asked, you say no, and let's just pretend that other person goes, like, man, I'm really busy right now, whatever the reason you give, and they go, I'm busy too. Or, and my mind, those are voices in my head because I'm waiting for somebody to like go, and I say no, and they go, almost like they're trying to look, I was much like you, a young one, and I had to also sacrifice things, and it didn't make sense to me. So just do what and that person was rewarded for what they're doing, their superpower, and it might not be my superpower, and it's their just inability to understand that I'm not like them.
Exactly. And I'll preface this again. Only do what God's telling you or you feel God is leading you to do. Do not let anybody tell you otherwise, because that's not how we're supposed to respond. We don't respond to people, we respond to God.
And then lastly, when you said ready, I don't feel ready. And I do feel like I'm still laying down my foundation. I've got some structures up, and I'm focused on growing that. I'm focused on me understanding the Bible and changing my actions in a pace that I feel God is directing me. Like, hey, He knows that I can't just boom, yes, I'll do that, and boom, I'm overloaded with stuff, and so I don't feel like I'm ready yet, and so there's a double-edged sword there.
Absolutely.
And that's the part of God has to make you aware that this is something you need to do, even though I know you're not comfortable with it.
That's exactly right.
And it's because you're uncomfortable is where I need to stretch you.
Exactly.
And that's what it worked for me. And knowing the difference is the hard one. Is this the one or is this the one?
Yeah. Don't ever base it upon how you feel about being ready. Is God telling you to do something or not? And we just need to obey.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Volunteering your time, folks. Important. It is important. And, we pray that you find that you are spoken to by God about what it is that you can do to impact others, to bring people closer to Christ. And there is something that you do have. You might not know it, and you might have to get out of your comfort zone to do that. Yeah. Anything else you want to close with?
No, just hit those like buttons, hit that subscribe button, and share this with other people.
So yeah, why is that important? Well, this studio does cost money, and the time and the editing, all that does have some certain hard cost associated with it. And our hopes are that one day we can have a channel that people want to come to and has a large audience. And as you know, YouTube has a monetary platform where if you get so many likes or so many subscribers, that you'll get money in return for it. And that money is intended to just pay for the stuff that we're doing here. We're volunteering our time and for you, and it's important. So, and we're happy to spend our money and our time for this for you. But eventually, it'd be nice to have some of that monetary. What's the right word for it to help pay for itself?
Yeah,
a little
pay
bit.
for itself, and then if we get more than that, then we can go use it for other things.
We can do it. Yeah, we really do want to use our talents for you. So, having said that, I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you on the next
Thanks,
one.
y'all.
All right, bye bye.